Hello and welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Scott Mailwig at Sports 25 to Life, and we're talking about the 14-game slate tonight, which you'd think there would be a ton of options that would feel great. 28 pitchers on the mound, but we spoke briefly before the show, and not a lot of guys I feel great about. I'm assuming you're the same thinking. Pretty much everybody I've talked to, that's just how it is tonight. So we'll go ahead and get into it. I think Tyson Ross is going to be obviously a very popular play tonight. Big strikeout rate. We know about the Cubs. Same story as last night, except not quite the strikeout rate that James Shields has, and not quite as good of a pitcher. But, I mean, been really good at keeping the ball on the ground, 63%. Obviously, Petco Park again. We don't need to tell you the same factors as last night. If you had James Shields last night, all the same things apply. The total is a half a run larger at 7 this time, but that's mostly because Sayoshi Wada on the other side, not very good. A lot of lefty mashers for San Diego. So I think he's your top play. And then if I'm going a little bit cheaper, looking for a guy, I don't mind him in cash games or GPPs. It's going to be Drew Hutchison, picking on the Angels once again. Aaron Sanchez last night, he wasn't great, but Aaron Sanchez, I don't think a very good pitcher anyway. Went 7 1/3, 3 earned runs against this team, 5 Ks. Drew Hutchison, in my mind, significantly better than he is. So I think he could put up a similar line against this really, really struggling Angels offense.
Yeah, definitely. Those are probably my two favorite cash game plays there. The third guy I'll throw into the mix a little bit here is Wei and Chen.
Yep.
I think he's all right at 7,000 on DraftKings. Facing a Seattle team that, I mean, their lefties really haven't come around still. I mean, Cano and Seager are both struggling a little bit. Obviously, you have to worry about Nelson Cruz in the middle of that lineup, but outside of him, I mean, there's no one else that really scares you there. I mean, and all of the park factors in Baltimore weight a lot heavier towards lefties, and with those lefties struggling, I feel okay about Nelson Cruz when blowing in from left today. I don't love it. He's a decent favorite. He's probably just my third cash game option. Like you said, there's not a lot of cash game options here. I'm going to stick with the first two, probably rotate Chen in a little bit. Outside of that, I'm looking mostly at GPP plays today. My favorite GPP play at pitcher is probably Odorizzi.
Yep.
Atlanta's bats have really slowed down again after they got off to a kind of unexpected nice start to the season. He's a little bit overpriced at 8,500, so I think that is a lot of what makes him a really nice GPP play today. Is I don't think he'll get played a ton. I think most people are going to go up to Tyson Ross, maybe even throw Jordan Zimmerman, who pitched a little bit better in the last couple games. I think Odorizzi is going to be a sub 10% guy probably for the most part. And I mean, he's been decent, hasn't been great, but he has some nice upside here. Nothing too special, though, outside of Atlanta being a struggling hitting team that strikes out a decent amount against righties. But, I mean, he's probably my favorite GPP play today due to ownership.
Yeah, we know he's got big upside. I mean, last year he had a much higher strikeout rate, but he's really done a good job of keeping the ball on the ground better. He was really, really bad with fly balls and home runs last year. He's kind of mitigated that a bit. So I think that he's certainly in play there, like you said. And Turner Field, I mean, not scary for pitchers by any means. So I think
pitching deep into games too is the big thing that I like about him. I mean, I've almost considered putting him in cash games, except for the fact that I like Ross more for slightly more money. I mean, Odorizzi's gone 6 innings in every single start this year, at least. Has 2 7-inning starts and an 8-inning start also. The strikeouts have been okay, a little bit up and down. I mean, he hasn't walked a guy in 4 outings, so the control's been there. So I think there's a lot of upside with him today just because of the innings pitched. He's been keeping the pitch count way down and let him get deep into games. So if he's mowing down Braves in this one, I think he pitches probably 7-8 innings.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There's only one more guy I'll throw out there, and it's mostly due to matchup as well. Carlos Martinez against the Mets. We know the Mets, one of the worst teams in the league against righties. And St. Louis starting to hit the ball pretty well. Bartolo Colon got roughed up by Milwaukee last time out. You don't necessarily expect that he's going to do that. It's not often that he gets crushed, but he has given up 9 earned runs against Milwaukee and Philadelphia in his last 2.
Yep.
The Cardinals hung a big number on him last night, and we got a big strikeout rate with Martinez, 24.7%. So as long as he keeps his command under control, 11.5% walk rate is very concerning. But for a GPP play, you want the strikeout upside. He definitely possesses that.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's a good call there at that price.
All right, let's move on here to catcher. I like Buster Posey against the lefty. I don't love the park, of course, being in San Francisco, but at 4,200, he's an interesting play. Elsewhere at first base, You've got Derek Norris will probably end up being my cash game play at Petco. You don't love that he's at Petco, but against a bad lefty, $3,600. I think he makes for. I think he's the best hitter around that price, and I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I'm probably looking back to Coors again today for catcher, especially in GPPs. I mean, if Willen Rosario's in the lineup again, I think he's a strong play, given that he has catcher eligibility still, even though he's playing most of his time at first base right now. Nick Hundley, another guy in that park that I think is a strong play. If Carlos Ruiz is in the lineup again, I don't mind him. He's been hitting in the 6-7 spot. I mean, that's probably where I'm going for catcher today. I don't see a ton else I want to go for. I mean, the other guy that I looked at a little bit for GPPs is Miguel Montero's 2,800 today. He is facing Ross, but he's been doing pretty well against righties on the season. He has a decent 20 at-bat sample size against him that he hasn't been terrible in. The big thing there is 2,800 for a guy with some power upside. He's a GPP play for me today despite the semi-tough matchup because he is a guy that strikes out a lot.
Yeah, that's a great find there, 2,800. I mean, a really good hitter at almost the minimum salary. You got to take advantage there in some spots too. But I'm with you. Coors Field, 2 bad pitchers. It's been a while since we've had a Coors Field game with 2 just awful pitchers, maybe even the 2 worst on the slate tonight. So I'm with you there. Certainly get yourself some exposure, and I'm sure we'll be getting to some of these guys here. So I'll go ahead and start off first base by talking about Ryan Howard. He's obviously in play here, $4,600. Big-time upside. There's also a lot of options at first base, as always. I love Jose Abreu, but I don't love the $5,500 price tag at home against the bad Sean Markham. Right. He's going to have to be a tournament play at that price, but at the same time, there's not a lot of expensive pitching options like we mentioned, so you can get some big bats in your lineup easily tonight. So I think he's my favorite tournament option for this slate.
Yeah, definitely. As far as cash game options go, Anthony Rizzo, 4,500. He's been really solid. Don't love him against Ross, though. I think you can get better value probably with like David Ortiz, who looked pretty good last night against a weak righty, facing another one in Klein today. Wind blowing out pretty heavily to right field in that game. I think it's up to 20-something miles an hour right now to right field. So got to feel pretty good about that for Ortiz. Joey Votto, always a solid cash game play. 4,600 against a righty in Guthrie. Pretty strong play there. That's probably the guys I'm looking at as far as cash games go. You mentioned Abreu is a GPP play at 5,500. I basically feel the same way about Goldschmidt and Cabrera up there too. I don't really want to pay up for a first baseman today when there's so many solid ones in the 4,500 range. And like you mentioned with Ryan Howard, I think Howard's more of a GPP play still, but at 4,500 he's a great GPP play.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, it's I would not be surprised to see us finally get over that total in Coors Field, which is 10 tonight. Yeah. I mean, lots of potential there. Moving on here to second base. Of course, you're looking at guys like, I love Brian Dozier tonight against a bad lefty and Jeff Locke.
Yeah.
We saw what he did against Francisco Liriano last night. Jeff Locke isn't half the pitcher that Liriano is. Well, maybe half the pitcher he was last night, but in general. Other guys you're looking at, you already mentioned the wind blowing out in Boston. Bad pitcher on the other side. You got Dustin Pedroia at $4,200. He's an interesting play. Had a couple old doubles last night. Certainly like the pairing. You can get him with David Ortiz there. Get yourself some big upside in that little that spot. And Chase Utley, I hate to talk about the guy because he was so terrible, but he's getting it done over his last couple games, and he is expensive. But talked about how bad these pitchers are in Coors Field. You know, bad hitters can get hits off bad pitchers quite often, and maybe Chase Utley's finally starting to turn it around here.
Yeah, he's got a double 4 games in a row, so hard to argue with that. He is looking a lot better. Hopefully he's getting that WRC plus up so we can stop making fun of him on Sundays.
Double digits, maybe. Maybe.
I like the value options today at second base, honestly. One guy I really like in GPPs is Ricky Weeks for 3,400 against a lefty in Chen. I feel pretty good about him. One guy that's really cheap, Pedro, I want to say Sirocco. I'm not sure if you know how to say his name. It's 2,100. Yeah. 2,100, hitting second in the order right now. Just a really strong value play there for me. If he's hitting that high in the order, it's really hard to pass him up at 2,100.
Yeah, absolutely with you there. Another cheap guy is Alex Guerrero if he's in lineup against Lincecum. $2,900. You know he's been mashing the ball. Elsewhere, I mean, you could look at Corey Spangenberg if he's in the lineup because he's cheap, but I don't love that. I mean, outside of that 2 home run game, he really hasn't done much. So
right, yeah.
And he's striking out a ton, by the way. 3, 2, 2, 2. So
yep.
He's swinging the bat hard. He's not hitting the ball, but if he does, it seems like it's probably going to go a long way. So
right.
That's about it for options for me at second. Anybody else you like?
No, I think I'm sticking with the guys you mentioned at the top, or I'm going to go really cheap with Sirocco, and then I'm looking pretty heavily at weeks and GPPs. So I'm kind of sticking to that core of guys at second base.
All right, I'm with you there. And a guy who was very, very expensive last night, almost $5,000. Not a lot of people were on him because it was a name people don't know, but Maikel Franco down to $4,400 today. Had himself 3 hits last night, a double, 3 RBIs. This guy's been hitting the ball really well, and we don't need to say any more. It's in Coors Field, $4,400. Probably be low owned among those hitters, and he's been batting 5th, so I like him a lot tonight at that price.
Yeah, definitely. Another guy right in that price range for me that I'm looking at is Moustakas. Facing Marquis, he gets crushed by everyone, but nice lefty-righty matchup for Moustakas, who hits righties a lot better. Only 4,200. I think he's a really strong play today in both cash games and GPPs. At the top, not a lot to love at the top here today at third base. I don't want to pay up for Cabrera. The rest of these guys seem a little bit overpriced to me. I don't want to pay $4,900 for Todd Frazier against a righty, really. Donaldson, $4,600 against Weaver is an okay play, but no one I'm really loving. I'm thinking I'm probably sticking in this low 400s range. I like Nolan Arenado again at Coors, and like you mentioned, that game feels like it's going to be way over the 10-run total today, finally. And then the obvious cash game play, Matt Carpenter against Cologne, is probably the guy I'm locking in for cash games. That price is just too good against a righty that doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I said, I think I'm going to try to get myself my middle infield guys exposure to Coors if I can, if there's no one really cheap that I love. So, yeah, I'm sticking with you there. Lots of exposure to that game whenever I can.
Yep.
Speaking of exposure to Coors, Troy Tulowitzki, he's the hot topic always. Last night, he got a big hit. He didn't get big hits. He didn't have a huge game, but that one big hit was a 2-run double. Also walked, so 13 fantasy points. That's about as good as it's gotten for about a month with Troy Tulowitzki right now. So, he's certainly in play in this bad matchup here, or in the good matchup against the bad pitcher, I should say, here at 4,500. I think I'm going to go ahead and just put him in most of my cash games because you've got plenty of money to spend.
Yeah, definitely. There's not a lot else to really tempt you at shortstop, really. It's hard to really like Hanley Ramirez when he picked up another injury last night.
Sliding like an idiot, too.
Yeah. The only other guy I'm really looking at today is Rollins, as usual. He's been on base 6 games in a row now. Lincecum doesn't find the strike zone really well at times. Jimmy Rollins is pretty patient at the plate when he runs into guys like that, only 3,500. I'm probably going either Tulo or Rollins almost 100% today at shortstop. There's just really not a lot else I like. Maybe if Rafael Noah is in left field again for Colorado, that's a really cheap price. But, he's not anything special in terms of a hitter. He's just a punt play, basically, that you're getting in Coors. So,
yep, exactly.
I'm probably trying to stick with Tulo and Rollins for the most part at shortstop.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also looking here at Jung Ho Kang at $3,700. He's been hitting the ball really well. 2 3-hit games in his last 3. He's being aggressive. He stole a base a couple days ago, too. You don't love the park there in PNC, but you get a bad pitcher in Mike Pelfrey, so I want to take advantage there. And I don't want to pay the higher price tags for any of these other Pittsburgh bats. All right, let's move on here to the outfield. Mr. Bryce Harper, obviously you have to mention him against Adam Warren.
Yep.
Certainly in play. Mashed another one last night. That's just what he does. I can't imagine a night without some Bryce Harper exposure, so especially if you're playing multiple GPPs, even if you're playing one GPP, you probably should have Bryce Harper in your lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely a top play. It's really hard to argue with him even at that price with the way he's been hitting. Another guy I really like, Giancarlo Stanton in that price range. I think having one or the other in GPPs is probably huge. I might try and figure out a team where I can get both in there today with the odd pitching options we kind of have on such a big slate. But I love Stanton anytime he's facing a weak righty at home. Just a fantastic hitter. Anderson has a pretty high home run to fly ball ratio. That's the kind of guy Stanton kills because he hits a ton of fly balls. Anderson's been doing a decent job of keeping the ball on the ground, but when he leaves balls up in the zone, his home run to fly ball ratio has been poor this year. Not too much else at the top. I don't want to pay for Trout right now. I don't want to pay for McCutchen right now. Outside of those two, I'm probably looking a little bit cheaper in terms of value guys. Gregory Polanco, a guy that I was really heavy on last night, went 0 for 4. Still only 3,800 though, facing Pelfrey today. I think he's a pretty strong cash game play. His ownership percentage is going to be down because it was pretty high last night and he let everyone down. So I think he's a pretty decent GPP play even at that price because he's not going to be heavily owned.
Yeah.
I mean, we can mention it whenever all of the Colorado and Philly outfielders are in play in this one.
Yep.
I mean, they're pretty cheap, too, in terms of what it usually is at Colorado. I mean, Carlos Gonzalez still only 4,600, Charlie Blackmon 4,600, Ben Revere's 4,500. Probably not the guy I want to play at that price. Outside of that, I mean, there's some other decent matchups. I mean, we can look at Jock Peterson. He's been struggling a bit lately against Lincecum, too. It's going to be hit or miss with him going forward, it looks like, but he's a decent play at 3,900, I think.
Yeah, and it's literally hit or miss with him. I mean, he either strikes out or hits a home run, it seems.
Yeah.
So, if he hits it, it's probably going out. So, as far as cheap options go, there's only one that's really cheap that I'm really looking at. It's Todd Cunningham. He's been hitting the ball really well, been batting 6th for Atlanta. You don't love the matchup with Jake Odorizzi, but if you just need a cheap filler, he's $2,600. He has 9 hits in 4 games since being called up, a couple doubles. Not a guy that you absolutely love, but I mean, at that price tag, it's a very low risk, medium reward type of play to fill out your lineup. If you want to do something like you were talking about, that big duo up top in the outfield, maybe slot him in there, get yourself some cores everywhere else. I don't think that's a bad way to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other cheaper options I like. Ryan Rayburn facing another lefty in Rodon today.
Yep.
3,100 on DraftKings, pretty solid play there. Sizemore is one of the outfielders for Philly that I was talking about. I mean, he's a pretty strong play at 3,700. Not a true value play there, but he's looked pretty good at the plate this season. One guy that I'm hoping hits at the top of the order again tonight for San Diego, Abraham Almonte, is only 2,800. In each of his last, I want to say 4 starts, he's hit either first or second in the order. So if he's up there, I think that's a steal at 2,800 against Wada, who, I mean, he's not good. So I think if you can get 4 or 5 at bats against him for 2,800, you've got to take that a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that call. And with that, that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe, and of course, check out all of our content at dailyfantasycafe.com for tonight's slate and every other slate. And we will see you tomorrow.